The wedding planner would later say she had coordinated events for royalty, hedge fund billionaires, and Hollywood elites, but she had never seen a billion-dollar wedding collapse in under 60 seconds. Where a groom who was a billionaire collapsed and his bride walked out on her million-dollar wedding gown. Richard Whitmore stood at the altar inside the Grand Regent Hotel in Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers shimmered, white orchids lined a 60-foot aisle, politicians, CEOs, venture capitalists, and media executives filled the ballroom. This was not just a wedding, it was a merger, a dynasty, a legacy announcement. 7 years ago, Richard divorced his first wife, not quietly, not respectfully, but publicly, because she could not give him children. He implied it in interviews, joked about it at private galas, allowed society to believe she was defective, and today, he was correcting that mistake. The orchestra began playing. Victoria Hale, young, stunning, heir to a global fashion empire, stepped into the aisle in a custom couture gown. Cameras lifted, phones rose, investors smiled, then the ballroom doors opened, not loudly, but slowly. The kind of slow that forces attention. Outside, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped at the entrance. The driver stepped out, then 3 little boys climbed out, identical, matching navy suits, polished shoes, with calm expressions. The whispering began, and then she stepped out, Grace Whitmore, his ex-wife, the woman he called barren, the woman he blamed, the woman he left with nothing, the woman he replaced. She walked into that ballroom glowing, not bitter, not ashamed, holding the hands of 3 little boys. The music stopped, Victoria stopped walking, Richard stopped breathing, because those children were real, healthy, beautiful, and they were not his. Which meant only one thing: the lie he built his new life on was about to collapse, and everyone in that room was about to witness it. If you believe humiliation has consequences, stay with me, because this story is not just about karma, it is about pride, legacy, power, shame, and what happens when the truth shows up uninvited. Let's go back 7 years, to the day Grace Whitmore lost everything. 7 years earlier, Grace Whitmore believed she had won at life. She met Richard in Boston at a finance conference. He was magnetic, ambitious, brilliant, but he was not born wealthy. He built his empire in tech acquisitions. Grace was steady, grounded, compassionate. They balanced each other, so she thought. Their wedding was featured in business magazines, the power couple of the decade. For the first year, life felt effortless. They traveled to Paris, built a home in the Hamptons, attended charity galas. Richard would hold her hand during board dinners. She would surprise him with his favorite scotch after difficult negotiations. They were partners. Then came the question, when are you two having kids? At first, it was playful. Richard's mother would smile and say, "I cannot wait to be a grandmother." Then it became expectation, then pressure. Richard's mother would casually say, "A legacy without heirs is just a company." The first year of trying passed, then the second, then the third, doctor visits, hormone injections, fertility calendars, silent tears in bathroom stalls. Grace blamed herself. She read every medical journal, tried acupuncture, changed her diet, took vitamins, and prayed. Richard grew distant. Board members joked at dinners, better secure the Whitmore bloodline, and slowly, the man who once held her through failed pregnancy tests started sleeping in another room. The touches stopped, the morning coffee together disappeared, conversations became transactional. What time will you be home? Did you call the accountant? We have the gala Thursday. She was no longer his wife, she was a failed project. The divorce was not quiet. Richard did not scream, he did not rage, he did something worse, he detached. "Grace, I need heirs, not children, but heirs." The word sliced deeper than child ever could. She suggested adoption, he refused. "My name requires blood." 3 weeks later, divorce papers were filed, but Richard did not stop there. At a high-profile tech gala in San Francisco, after too much champagne, he gave a speech. "To growth," he said, smirking slightly, "in business and in life, sometimes you have to replace what does not produce." The room laughed. Grace stood frozen in the back near the exit. She wore a black dress. She had come because friends insisted. "Show your face, do not hide." But the implication hung heavy in that ballroom. Everyone knew, she was the product, she did not produce, she failed. The headlines followed: Whitmore marriage ends amid childlessness, tech billionaire seeks fresh start after barren marriage. She did not correct it, she could not breathe, friends stopped calling, social invitations disappeared, charity boards quietly removed her name from committees, the same women who had lunch with her every Tuesday suddenly had scheduling conflicts. She was not Grace anymore, she was Richard's mistake, the defective wife. One afternoon, she ran into Richard's mother at Bergdorf Goodman. The older woman looked through her like she was glass, turned and walked away without a word. That night, Grace packed 3 suitcases and left New York. Grace moved into a modest Seattle apartment, no staff, no drivers, no marble floors, just silence. For months, she avoided mirrors, stopped answering her phone, ordered groceries online. The world felt smaller and darker. Her best friend Sophia Bennett finally intervened. She flew to Seattle unannounced, knocked on the door until Grace answered. Sophia stood in the doorway holding coffee and bagels. Stop assuming it is you, Grace resisted, but Sophia was relentless. She made the appointment herself, drove Grace to the clinic, sat in the waiting room. 2 weeks later, Grace sat in a sterile office gripping the edge of her chair. The doctor was a woman in her 50s, kind eyes, with a gentle voice. She smiled gently. Grace, your results are excellent. You are perfectly healthy, there is no fertility issue on your end. The world shifted. Grace's hands went numb. Are you sure? She whispered. Completely, your hormone levels are ideal, your ovarian reserve is excellent, everything is functioning perfectly. Then came the sentence that changed everything. If anything, it may be worth suggesting your former partner get evaluated. Sometimes male factor infertility is overlooked because the assumption defaults to the woman. 7 years of blame, 7 years of shame, 7 years of doctor's appointments and needles and invasive procedures and silent grief, and she was never the problem. Grace did not cry this time, she felt something colder, and that was clarity. A year later, Grace met Daniel Brooks at a literacy charity fundraiser in Portland. He was not flashy, not trying to dominate the room, he just listened. They talked about books, about travel, about rebuilding after failure. He told her about his sister who adopted 3 children. She told him about teaching art classes to kids on weekends. Months passed before he asked about children, and when he did, he said something that shattered her. If we are meant to have them, we will, if not, I am already lucky. No pressure, no ego, no legacy obsession, just love. They married quietly in Napa Valley, 15 people, no press, no investors, just vows under an oak tree. A year later, Grace felt morning sickness. She dismissed it, maybe it's stress, bad sushi, but it persisted. The ultrasound technician froze, then laughed softly. Grace, I am counting 3 heartbeats, triplets, you are having triplets. Grace collapsed into Daniel's arms, not because she proved Richard wrong, but because she finally felt chosen, not evaluated, not measured, just loved. Back to Manhattan, back to the Grand Regent Hotel, back to the ballroom. 300 guests filled white chairs, the orchestra played Pachelbel's canon. Victoria began her walk down the aisle, her father held her arm. Photographers positioned themselves. Richard stood at the altar in a custom Tom Ford tuxedo, confident, controlled. This was his coronation. Then the doors opened, slowly, a black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up outside, the driver opened the door, 3 little boys stepped out, navy suits, white shirts, and polished shoes. Then Grace stepped out. She wore a simple elegant dress, cream-colored, understated and radiant. She walked into that ballroom holding the hands of her sons. Daniel walked calmly behind them. Victoria saw them first. She slowed her steps, confusion crossed her face. Who is that? She whispered to the maid of honor beside her. The whispering spread like wildfire through the rows. Phones came out, investors leaned toward each other, someone pulled up old headlines. Richard saw her, his face went pale, his hands gripped the edge of the altar. Victoria reached him, she did not smile. Who is that woman? My ex-wife, Richard said quietly. An investor in the third row whispered too loudly, "Those are the ones, the barren wife, but she has kids." Victoria turned fully toward Grace. The boys stood calmly, polite, and well-mannered. Victoria knelt slightly. "How old are you?" she asked the closest boy. 5, he said proudly. 5, exactly the length of time since the divorce finalized. Victoria stood slowly, the pieces connected in her mind like falling dominoes. "You told me she could not have children," Richard stammered. It was complicated." "How old did you say?" Victoria asked the boy again. 5, he repeated. Victoria removed her engagement ring, 15 carats, flawless diamond. She placed it in Richard's hand. "I will not marry a liar." Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Cameras captured everything. She turned, her gown train swept across the floor, and she walked out. In under 60 seconds, the billion-dollar wedding collapsed. Richard stood frozen, 300 witnesses, every phone recording, the lie he built his new life on destroyed, not by grace, but by truth. Weeks later, Richard sat alone in a fertility clinic on the Upper East Side. The doctor cleared his throat. "Mr. Whitmore, your sperm count has been critically low for over a decade. Given your age when you married your first wife, this condition likely existed then as well, over a decade." Meaning he likely knew, or suspected, or refused to check. Meaning he projected, meaning he chose pride over truth. The realization hit harder than the wedding collapse. He did not just lose a wife, he destroyed her, publicly, deliberately, and systematically, for a problem that was his all along. The board members who joked, the headlines he allowed, the galas where he smirked and humiliated her, all built on a lie he refused to acknowledge. Richard asked to meet Grace. She agreed. They sat in a public cafe near Central Park. No marble floors now, no power imbalance, just two people. "I was wrong," he said quietly. Grace nodded. "I know, I ruined you. How can you forgive me?" Grace looked toward the park where her sons laughed with Daniel on the playground, "Because holding anger would mean you still control my happiness." "I do not hate you, Richard," she said gently. "I outgrew you," and she walked away, not victorious, not vengeful, but just free. Grace did not win because she had children, she won because she stopped believing she was broken, and sometimes, the most ruthless revenge is not exposure, it is peace. If this story hit you, please hit that like button, subscribe for more stories about pride, power, and the consequences of choosing ego over truth. Comment below, would you have gone to that wedding? Because this story has a part 2, and it is darker than you think.